from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
Arm's like halfway on the bus, so I thought, it's got to be pretty close, kids and stuff, so.
A Fargo driver passing through Harwood captured that shocking video.
It's of a school bus that got caught between a railroad track and the crossing arms while kids were on board.
Valley News Team's Rose Itzkovitz dug into exactly what happened.
Seeing this as you're waiting at a railroad crossing.
Just coming to Harwood this morning to work, seeing a school bus with the lights flashing, and then the cross arms came down.
A Fargo man wishing to remain anonymous says the bus was from the Northern Cass School District. What was your first reaction?
Basically just thinking of, kids and what could have happened.
The school superintendent, Corey Steiner, says there were kids in that bus.
We run buses into Harwood to pick up students who are open enrolled to our district, so it was picking up students.
But the witness tells us the bus wasn't trying to drive straight through the tracks when it got stuck.
I could see the school bus down there with the lights flashing because they always got to stop at the tracks.
According to North Dakota Century Code, certain vehicles, including school buses, must stop at all railroad crossings.
And then what I think is, after he stopped for so long, he started to go forward, and then that's when the arms came down.
Superintendent Steiner says he and the school resource officer reviewed the bus's video and came to that same conclusion. But state law says the bus driver, who was a substitute for the day, should have stopped between 15 and 50 feet from the nearest rail. Steiner says the driver couldn't see exactly where the tracks started because of the snow.
The driver did everything in his power to make sure the kids stayed safe.
From farther away, it looks like a short distance between these cars here and the actual train tracks. But as we get a little bit closer, we can see the distance is actually a little bit longer than it looks from the bar over there and the tracks, which start right over here. Still, it's a good reminder to keep your distance at the tracks. In Harwood, Rose Itzkovitz, Valley News Live.
According to the North Dakota Department of Transportation, the distance between the crossing arms and the nearest rail is 15 feet. We reached out to the Highway Patrol to find out if the action was illegal and whether there would be any repercussions, but we didn't hear back by our deadline.
Fargo School Superintendent says it's important to continue to work together as a community to ensure the safety of our schools for the students we serve. Dr. Jeffrey Schatz sent a letter to parents with specifics of current safety procedures. He didn't go into specifics, not wanting to make the schools less safe, but Schatz says each school has designated emergency response teams in place and that each school building is required to execute a specific number of drills during each school year. We placed Dr. Schatz's full letter on our website. If you'd like to see it, go to our website at valleynewslive.com.
A steady dose of sunshine and temps in the 20s melted some of that snow that fell last night, but there's more white stuff expected this weekend. Hutch is here with tonight's forecast. Hutch?
Yeah, for this evening here in the valley, things look very quiet after that morning dash of snow. And here's a look at some snow totals reported from across the region. And the heaviest snow fell across portions of central Minnesota. Monaga, 6.5 inches, 5 inches in Havana, North Dakota, however, and Fargo-Moorhead picking up between 2 and 3 inches. Now, by Saturday afternoon, another round of snow hits central and southern Minnesota. If you're traveling to the Twin Cities, there's a chance you could see some places with 8 inches or more of snow in that direction. For our area, 1 to 3 inches. I'll have more details in your hour-by-hour forecast what you could expect, but another round of snow making its way in to start the weekend.
Okay, thanks, Hutch.
You bet.
Republicans in a Fargo district have voted to expel white supremacist Peter Tefft. District 21 party members say they took a vote because Teft's views and actions that he has expressed publicly go against the party's principles. The party says it rejects hateful rhetoric and views and that white supremacy has no place in the District 21 GOP. Tefft drew national attention last year when he was identified as a pro-white protester at a demonstration in Charlottesville, Virginia.
In tonight's schemes and ripoffs, authorities are warning people in Foster County about a scam hitting that area. They say a resident received an envelope postmarked from Portugal. It says that they have won the Mega Lottery and a payout of $4.5 million. The recipient must contact a gentleman named Dr. Michael Gold by telephone or email and fly to Lisbon, Portugal to sign the funds release document and pick up your check. The Sheriff's Department is telling residents not to fall for the scam. If you have received a similar flyer, contact them immediately.
Rural EMS providers in North Dakota were facing budget cuts in November. Now they could be looking at a whole new system. The State Government Administration Committee heard comments on how to fix the state's EMS system. The Department of Health says the needs of the state's 120 ambulance services are more than what they can pay for. One fix would be adopting quick response units, which would be made up of emergency medical responders. They need less training than an EMT, but the responders would be called in rural communities to provide treatment until an ambulance can arrive.
Not only for more rural and other areas does that decrease the cost associated with providing the service, but we think it will increase the efficiency and the effectiveness of the system as well.
The University of North Dakota found that 90% of emergency calls were handled by 20 ambulance services.
This was day 2 of the Dakota Access Pipeline Anniversary Prayer Walk. Protesters walking from the Backwater Bridge to the point where the pipeline crosses Highway 1806 and then continues underneath the Missouri River. Demonstrators prayed and buried tobacco at that site before ceremonially crossing the pipeline. The walk continues through Sunday when protesters are expected to reach Mandan.
A year ago today, one of the main staging areas for the protest movement against construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline in Morton County was shut down.
The site, which is south of Mandan, was the scene of heated confrontations, which resulted in hundreds of arrests. Bo Evans returned to that area that was a hub of activity for the protesters.
12 months ago, the field behind me was still home to nearly 100 protesters, waiting the arrival of law enforcement for one final confrontation. Fire and ice sounds like something out of a fairy tale, but in southern Morton County, it was reality. It was the conclusion of the historic 7-month saga we know as the Dakota Access Pipeline protest.
This has never happened and has never happened in North Dakota, and I don't think it's never happened to this size of it in the United States.
Despite all of the outside noise, those at the heart of the movement are adamant that their motivation was consistent, protecting water rights of indigenous peoples.
What we have left isn't much, but it's our water, our lands, and our rights. So we're going to stand up for them. When you're standing up for something as simple as water, that anything's possible.
But there's no question that there were aspects of violence throughout.
There are people that wanted to die. You know, I heard that straight from some of the leaders in that camp that were willing to die.
A peaceful and prayerful group there, absolutely there was. But within that, there was a very violent confrontational element.
Evidence shows, however, law enforcement's worst fears were never fully realized.
When we went through the camp, during that time, we did not find any weapons, which was good, but that's not saying that there were never none there.
While the North Dakota chapter of history ended on February 23rd, some hope it's not the end of the story.
Maybe it took a pipeline to wake us up, and we're still kind of fuzzy-eyed and trying to figure out where we're at. But make no doubt, this really woke up Indian country.
After the camp was cleaned and cleared, law enforcement closed the gates with barbed wire and no trespassing signs. And if you weren't here to see it happen, you may never know that this was anything other than a grazing field.
By March of 2017, 761 people had been arrested, 94% of them from out of state. The estimated cost to police the protests, more than $38 million.
Before the Dakota Access Pipeline went into service, oil production in the state was exceeding pipeline capacity. And now that Bakken crude has been flowing through the pipeline since June, it has made a big impact on the oil industry. The pipeline's latest analysis over a 6-month period increased revenue by $60 million. It also bumped up profit margins, bringing more money to the state. Right now, the pipeline is transporting 450,000 barrels per day, and the North Dakota Pipeline Authority says it might reach capacity, a total of 520,000 barrels a day in the near future.
Dakota Access came online. North Dakota moved into a situation for the first time that there was adequate pipeline capacity for the region.
Officials say that over the next 10 to 15 years, the state's oil industry is projected to produce between 1.7 and 2.1 million barrels a day, which would exceed pipeline capacity.
Later on Valley News Live at 6, more protection from crime as a police officer is welcomed to a local department.
Up next, trouble for a well-known resort. What's next after a fire destroys the main lodge?